So here I have with me David Shingy, the very famous and the very mysterious David Shingy. Like, we still don't know what he does, and let's see if we can find that out by the end of this. So, since you call yourself a digital prophet, let's start with the digital prophecies for 2015.
Wow, okay, sure, why not?
5 top digital prophecies.
Okay, first thing you said to me is you don't know what I do.
Yes.
So what I do is look at digital trends, distill them down into ideas that brands, agencies, clients can understand to take advantage of. That's really what I do.
Okay.
So I look to ideas in the landscape and sort of boil them down. Some things that I think are really interesting about this year. By the way, trends don't come in calendar years. They come when consumers decide. And at the end of the day, they're the ones that drive what these trends are. Yeah. And I think there's a couple of things that are really amazing, especially in this area. I mean, wow, in India, what do you have? 1.2 billion people. In terms of mobile penetration, it's about 45%, but in terms of mobility connections, it's like 73%.
Yeah.
So it's all about opportunity here. So when I walk the streets of India, I think what's incredible, and I've only been in Mumbai for 24 hours, but I get to see people, their nose down into their smartphones. And one thing that I found fascinating is you're not really brand loyal on the handset.
Yeah, not at all.
But all you're doing is consuming content.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing to see how people actually, just care about what's on there. So if I look at the numbers in terms of mobile penetration versus the number of mobile connections, it's all growth opportunity. In terms of internet connections, it's less than double digits. So, you're one of those amazing communities that have gone straight from television to mobility, and bringing those two things together. What that does is it on both of those devices. And I don't think digital is competing against television, it's a complement to it. And we know that, right? Because people aren't moving away from watching television. They're still watching them, but they're doing it differently. Its expression is different. But where I find that to be interesting, it's a wonderful complement to it, is that just the way that people are actually engaging in that content here is only growth. And again, to jump the middle bit, which was PC, to go straight to mobile, the similarities between things like television and mobility is all sight, sound, and motion. It's all about this emotive content, video, exactly what we're doing today.
Yeah.
That's intriguing content that people are absorbing. So one of that in this community is more and more and more of that. But I think the other thing that's interesting is that, we skim across the top of the surface of content today. We're in this fear of missing out culture. We want to know what's going on. But there are also subjects that we care about. So I think that this sort of long form, slow journalism, thoughtful way of engaging in topics are going to be sort of be re-engineered so that people will actually sort of understand more about these topics more. I think that'll come back into full circle. But obviously wearables are intriguing, the internet of everything being connected. What does it mean, especially when it comes to digital trends, how all of those things interweave in an ecosystem? That'll be interesting to see how that thing all comes to part.
Just speaking of Internet of Things, it's the buzzword, like everything,
sure.
IoT, everybody's chasing it. But do you think it's making our life simpler, or do you think it's just complicating how we live every day?
Well, obviously the premise is to make things simpler.
Yeah, that's the premise.
Yeah,
but do I really need a mobile to control, say, a water boiler or a tube light, or is it just easier for me to do it physically?
There are some practical examples of where that works. So the ability to turn off heating or lighting in a house, mobile-wise, is really, really important. So there are definitely ways that Internet of Everything is making life more convenient. Is it making some of these things lazy? Perhaps, but that's the premise of a new market, right? And in anything that we see, we'll be overwhelmed by the opportunities, and then the frenzy will go away once we become fanatics, and we'll flatline into understanding what are the things are the applications we really care about. And that's the same for wearables, So whether you've got wearables now with a screen on it, it's overwhelming with the amount of data and pings and updates and all that sort of stuff that you get. But when that starts to balance out, you'll understand what the utility is. Now, the opportunity moving forward is that how does a brand play in that? It's not just about technology for technology's sake, but if I'm going to be delivering information to a different device, which now is round or square or rectangular, that's a unique opportunity for a brand to engage with somebody. Today, the mobile phone, which I can't believe is called still a phone, by the way, but the smart device has the same aspect ratio of cinema all the way down to phone.
Yeah.
So delivering content is sort of a fairly unique way of doing it. Similar.
Yeah.
But the way to deliver information to all these different shapes and sizes in a different type of need, meaning instead of searching for stuff, things will be pushed to me when I want it, how I want it, where I want it, and the time that I want it. So that's going to be something for brands to have to think about in this new economy when it comes to digital.
India and Asia, we're just like digital babies. Like, we're just taking our first steps.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world has already gotten there way ahead of us. So do you think there are things that we could learn from them, or maybe because we've just bypassed the middle desktop stage, do you think it's a completely new world for us, or do you think there are things that we can still pick up?
I mean, obviously there are things that are common language standards, the way we deliver ads, the way we produce content that engages people. You know, there's that premise and benchmark. But I do believe, because there's so many different ways and shapes and sizes to orientate around digital today, that it's time to invent. So why wouldn't you? Given that you're at the premise where most countries that I visit over-index, you know, they're in the 130% plus. You guys aren't even at 100% yet. So given that, smart devices. So given that's the case, how you surprise and delight consumers could be something that's very, very unique to you know, here in this culture. And look, and when I see that on television, you know, I haven't had a TV for 20 years, but when I turn on television here locally, there's a over-indexing on sort of this type of content that is all about sensory overload, man. Yeah. So there's this opportunity, I think, on different devices, definitely that have smaller form factor and sort of more slow moving, that potentially provides a different, richer type of experience that could be completely unique to India, as opposed to it being something that's copied from any other environment. So yeah, totally, man. Learn from others to reframe what you want to invent in the future, which I think is the opportunity you have. In India, we just saw one of the biggest digital campaigns that ever happened. Okay. For net neutrality. Million emails were sent, and we're still waiting back to hear from the government. If you had to make one compelling argument for net neutrality from your experiences to our government, you know, what do you think you would say? Openness. Yeah. I mean, you really, you know, you're in an environment here that's very, very entrepreneurial, and you need that to be the case. You want this to have, you want people to have access to this ubiquity, and that's what openness provides, man. So that alone will allow you to have an economy that's just going to continue to skyrocket. And it is, you know, anything you're doing seems to be up to the top right. It's bloody fascinating and awesome to watch, because it's just this massive opportunity, which is rare. You know, everywhere else it's over-connected. You guys are still creating connectivity. You're investing heavily in these things. With that comes invention. With that comes entrepreneurial spirit. With that comes a totally different type of community, as opposed to perhaps a service-led community, into something that's really fashion-forward and ahead of it. But I'm for anything that allows entrepreneurs and people that actually want to get on with helping the human movement move forward in a way that feels like it's really open. Dude, I'm all for it. Yeah. So I don't know if you've read about internet.org, Zuckerberg's baby that he's trying to spread in Asia. That's his main market. So he's basically saying that, okay, you know, I want internet to be accessible to everyone, and which is why, say, if, you know, I tie up with this one telecom company, everybody who has access to it can, you know, then have access to Facebook. I can't comment to what Facebook's plan is for internet.org, and you know, it would seem like they're trying to create a closed ecosystem. I don't know whether that's the appropriate thing for people. I mean, as well as having ubiquity in terms of access, I think the focus of, you know, almost half the population, it seems, not having access to clean water, that's something that has to be resolved as well. If there are people that are able to actually solve that problem by not destroying the environment at the same time, let's get on with it. So if internet.org can do that in a way that doesn't feel like it's a completely closed community, then I suspect people are going to want to enjoy that. Okay, so just speaking of the digital space, you know, like analytics, that's become the biggest asset that content creators and advertisers and everybody is relying on. Data. How do we tackle this data? How do we interpret it? So, and you know, the relationship between a content creator, or say the editorial team, and the people running the business, it's always been a very difficult one. So where do you think, and how do you think analytics can be best used for the content creators? Do you think it should drive what's being created? I think part of it is, it's the momentum of understanding what's contagious. Then how do you amplify it? Because that's really sort of the visceralness of what people are trying to do in the content space. But analytics are only as good, your data is only as good as the insights, man. So that's where human interpretation, in my mind, comes through and says, hey, gut check says this should be the thing that we look at. So analytics are absolutely important. So is live data. And so real data, live data that's actually happening to make those decisions editorially, to what's getting amplified, what needs to be written about, what should be short form, what should be long form, what should be repositioned top left, what should be bottom right. All of those things need to make up the chemistry to understand what people find contagious. And that's what we're trying to do in consumer, right? That's what we're trying to do when we're consuming content or building content for consumers. So analytics are absolutely important to that, because that's the data backbone. But again, how you react to that data is a decision that needs to be made by the business and the people who decide to take that data and create these insights to say, this is how we think people are going to be delighted by the content or find utility in it, you know? All right, cool. We shall end that. Thank you. On that. Thanks for spending some time with me. This has been awesome.